Hello there, beautiful internet and you fantastic creatures of the beyond. Are you guys ready to break Inkscape with me? Because today we're going to do some really crazy mental things. So, we have here a blank canvas. Now, here we have two files, canvas and importer SVG. We're going to link these two files together. Right now we are in importer SVG, and we want to import something into the canvas. Now let's think what we would want to do. Let's do something mental. Let's go here and let's import a web image. In case you didn't know, you can download images through Inkscape. I mean, not images, they're actually vector groups, vector designs. And you have a few repositories here, or libraries, but I tend to go with Inkscape community. And let's go, I don't know, let's call an animal. You have to wait, and wait, and wait, and hope that Inkscape doesn't die. Why is this guy? That's an astronaut, not an animal. Well, whatever. Okay, we'll take this Raposta public domain, no attribution or credit necessary. Okay. So we're going to import this Foxy, which is a very big Foxy. But keep in mind that probably these are made for quite some time, and the coding on these are not necessarily the cleanest, as we can see here in the XML. There's quite a lot of probably it's leftover code from previous versions or things that are being imported with filters and things like that, but I don't know, it's just be careful when you import things like this. They're not 100% guaranteed that they might work out of the box. But we like this Foxy. This Raposta. I suppose it's in Spanish. Okay, so this is in our importer SVG. Well, our Raposta is in here. So this is our layer, because we have the name, the Inkscape label over here, and this is our ID, layer 1. Let's name this to ID Raposta. Perfect. Now, actually let me save. Now let's go into our canvas, which is actually an empty file as well. And now, inside our canvas, we're going to create a node. We're going to call it use, and click enter. And this is usually a tag that is used for clones, but we don't have a clone. Interesting, isn't it? What if we tell it xlink ref? We're going to bring it from importer SVG, the ID Raposta. Bam! Just like that. Right now we're having this clone, and I'm gonna show you it's a clone right here, because it has the icon of the clone, imported from the other file. Awesome possum, isn't it? We don't have to bother with a lot of elements in the same file now, because what happens if you have a ton of elements and maybe you have an assembly and you want to shift things around? Inkscape is going to slow down, but this is a reference to that file. So basically it's not loading the nodes because you can't edit it, you see? Although technically there are some nodes, but they're not editable actually. So in theory at least, this should be easier to manipulate. I mean, just to scale up. And if you're clever, you can even change its... I mean, there are some ways to maybe shift the perspective a bit. Maybe if we play with, I don't know, with some path effects. Let me say first. Let's try a path effect here. Perspective. No. Inkscape says no. Let's try to bring back our canvas. So as I said, you're going to have a lot of crashes. Let's try this again. Maybe, who knows? Perspective. Yeah, it does not like this. Well, what can you do? These are the limitations. We're discovering them as we go. I don't know them at all, you know, it's like Pokemon, you have to catch them all to know who they are. Perfect. Now let's do something even crazier. Let's go back into our importer. And let's create just a general shape here. And let's do a filter. And this is actually gonna be a bit tricky to do. Let me give this a color. So as you know, filters are quite complex. I have made a video for filters. It will be uploaded on YouTube soon. Or sometime soon. I don't know. We shall see. And we're going to take this filter. Oh, we have filters because of this one. Sorry. We're gonna create a new filter. And let's call this filter drop shadow. I'm gonna just type it with small letters. And there are many ways to make shadows. And it's quite complicated to see which way is the best way, but I'm gonna attempt it. So in our drop shadow, we're going to apply an offset. Let's put it, I don't know, 6 by 6. Oops. By 6. And let's apply this offset to the alpha. Let's apply the filter. Okay, so we have the alpha set here. Let's see if I try to apply it to the source. It's going to shift the source. Okay, understood. Now, let's try to add a Gaussian blur to create the concept of a shadow. Let's put this to a 4. Okay, 4 should look nice. Now, in order to bring back our object or main shape, we're going to make a merge. And this merge is going to connect to this and to the source. But let's try the other way. Ooh. Kinky. What happens if I put this with this? Sorry, not with this, with this. Oh, that's awesome. You can create the outside shadow. Maybe there's a way to make the inside shadow as well. Technically there should be, but if we use something like composite. I'm not entirely sure. I think we have to put it on the graphic and on the offset. Or maybe on the graphic like this and on the offset over here. But with the in, go with the over, no, not over, not atop, not XOR. It should be technically in, but maybe it has to be the alpha. What did I do? Oh, shoot. I connected it to the... Okay. Okay, we're doing stupid things now. Let's just stick to what we have. So this one should be like this one should be like this. Why isn't my Gaussian blur working anymore? I messed it up? Maybe I need to put it like this. Yeah, like that. Okay. I'm still adjusting to this. These nodes are quite tricky to master. But let's say this Gaussian blur might not hit the mark for us because we can't control the opacity. So we could technically do... Well, let's name this shadow 1. Just to have it as here. And now let's add a flood, and we can control the opacity here, but we can also control the color. But obviously this is taking all the space, so we don't want that. So in this case, I would need to bring in a composite, and for the composite to go here, and for this to connect here, and for this to be in. And composite should be between flood. Maybe we move this one lower. Perfect. So the composite connects into the flood and into the offset. And then the Gaussian blur is connecting into the composite. And then we have the merge between everything that's up here and the source. So now if we want, we can reduce the opacity here. Oh, oops. Okay. Then we can also control the color all the way with RBG. Oh, look at that. So that's one way to make shadows. Of course, you can leave them black. But what if we want another way of doing this? Let's do drop shadow number 2. One word of advice: don't duplicate it. Don't duplicate your. Oh, come on. So don't do this. Oh gosh, this is horrible. Yeah. So you have filter 1 and filter 2. Don't duplicate them here. It might make your file corrupted sometimes because it's trying to identify the ID. So Inkscape might not be able to open it. So be careful when duplicating nodes. You have to make a lot of changes to make sure that it's not overlapping the same information. So it's safer to just create a new filter altogether. But in this case, we want to kind of do the same thing we did in the first case. We want to add an offset, again 6 by 6. Right now we are not seeing anything because we haven't applied the filter. Then we're going to add the Gaussian blur by 4. And then we're going to add our merge. This is going to apply to this. This is going to apply to this. This is going to apply to this. Now, let's see how it looks. If I'm gonna click this filter, it's going to get replaced, obviously. Now, if we want to not do the same steps as before with the flood and with the composite and then whatever else, we could actually use composite transfer. Now, composite transfers are very, very powerful. We can, right now I'm still not sure how to use this too efficiently, but this, well, I'm gonna just use linear because it's a bit easier than gamma. Gamma has 3 options. I mean, it's still easy. You still need to use only these two. The offset is kind of making everything whatever. But linear is a bit more intuitive. So we're going to affect only the alpha because we are connected into the alpha over here. And oh, we need to move this into the right position because we want to click into the offset. And let's push this offset lower. Now we're controlling the opacity. And this one kind of controls everything as a whole. You can also kind of fine tune it like this. But this secondary option is more related to how colors work. So for example, if I'm gonna push the reds, nothing happens, see? But that's because I have to push the interceptor. Now I can see like, ooh, something is happening. Let's try to push this to a 4. And this maybe to a 1. And now if I want to make a yellowish color, I'm gonna push this to a 4 because I'm combining red with green. And this to a 1. Bam! Yellow! Well, of course, this is too much. Maybe if I lower it, we're gonna go into an orange. Maybe push. It's a bit tricky to work with this. I'm not yet sure how to actually could increase it like this. I don't know how to make it darker yet. That's my only problem right now. I want to make this shadow darker. Be like this. Something like that. I would even want it darker than that, but I suppose we don't have much control over the lighting. Or maybe if the combo between these two kind of controls that. But then gamma would be more appropriate for this. Because I can offset it and then I can do the exponent. But again, quite complicated to do it this way. Anyway, we're sidetracking here. I kind of like this. And if I simply want to go back to black, I'm just gonna turn back to identity. Identity basically means inherited values. Actually, I don't know if I'm gonna go to let's turn it back to black. And if I try to go back to linear, to gamma, sorry. Oh, it does remember. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so let's keep it on this dark thing. We can also apply a Gaussian blur here. But connect it to this. It doesn't work. Damn it. Maybe if I move it on top? No. I thought I could be sneaky and create sort of a blur on this, but it only applies globally. Or maybe there is a way by merging these two. So technically this with this, but I'm losing the blending here. Ah, so weird. Why are you being weird? Maybe the other one? Yeah, let's not overcomplicate our life. And leave it like this. So we are having two drop shadows right now. Drop shadow 1 and drop shadow 2. Perfect. This is all happening in the importer. Okay, I'm going to close this for now, or set it aside. Let's close this. Let's save. So we have our filters here. Now, very important. You have to do this for XML because we named them drop shadow 1 and drop shadow 2, but in actuality there's only labels, they're not IDs. So I'm gonna go and take the name and copy them into the IDs as well. Now, I know why this is happening, and maybe I should undo it. Let me just disable the filter. And now let me put this here, and for this one it's gonna be 1. Perfect. Just be very careful when you're typing these things, don't mess them up. IDs are very important. So if I enable this, it will automatically take the ID. Because right now this is looking, you see, for drop shadow, for the ID over here. And this is looking for a filter. Perfect. Perfect. Now, what if we want to bring this filter into our canvas? And apply it to this fox over here. Ha! Let's cry together. I'm going to do something really, really crazy. I'm gonna go here and I am going to create a file called style.css, and I'm going to remove this .txt. I'm gonna say yes. If you don't see the extension of the file, go into, well, in my case it's Windows 10. Into view, options, you go to view and you click, where the hell is it? Not display full path. What the heck? Display, empty hide folder. What the heck? It should be here. Oh, you have to unclick this silly thing. Hide extensions for known file types. And then click OK or apply or OK, whatever. Good. Good. So, if we're gonna open this, let's give this a comment. CSS importer, just so we kind of understand what this CSS does. And we're gonna give this a class. Don't be afraid if you don't understand what I'm doing right now. It's kind of what we did in XML, but this is code specifically for CSS. And I know CSS. There are many tutorials out there that can teach you. CSS is quite a wonderful thing because you can think of CSS sort of like a remote control. And when you press a button, or when you do a class in this case, it's going to change all the TVs that are connected to that remote control. So let's say that in this case, we're going to call this drop shadow class. And well, we have to, let me see. import. Just a second, I need to open a new file just to see where it was. Because I need to reference the correct path. Let's see, here, 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 and here. So we have to call this a filter, because we're calling the filter, and we have to specify the path, in this case the URL. It's going to be in the same folder, so we have to type a dot, and we're gonna call the importer.svg, and we're going to call the class of our shadow, which is with a hashtag, which is drop shadow 1, and semicolon just to close it. You don't have to put it, but in general it's nice to do. So let's kind of format this code so it looks a bit nicer, you know. I know I'm using a tab, not double things. Whatever. Let's do it like so. Let's put it like this and like this. Whatever. Looks better now. So we are calling this filter from this path, the URL, importer.svg drop shadow 1. Perfect. So how do we bring this CSS into our canvas? We use we're gonna go here, and we need to import a style. So in this case, I'm going into the depths. I'm gonna create a new element, call it style. And now inside this style, I'm going to create a text node. So we can type here, let's type a comment. Comments are typed a bit different here. Like so. Importing style.css. I think that should work, no? I hope. I'm not sure this is correct though. It should color it different. Okay, I don't want to risk it. Let's not do it like so. Let's just import. So in order to import, this is kind of like HTML CSS import. So an easy way to do it, let me get my files, is to type it like, I'm just gonna copy it like this. Import, it's in the current folder or directory, and it's called style.css. So if we look again at our file structure, we have it. So when I say that dot, oh shoot, whatever. So when I say dot over here, oh come on, I closed you. Yeah, so when I do this dot, this means with the forward slash, this means that we are searching in the current directory. You could try to skip it and just type style.css, but I like to keep everything very specific. Of course, you can also add the full path here in your directory, but let's not overcomplicate things. So we know that our style is in the same folder as the canvas and the importer. If I would put it in another folder here, let's say I would create a new folder like this raster, I would type here like so, raster, and then bam. And now then I know it's the hierarchy of the directory like so. But anyway, that's by the by. So we are in the style. We have imported it, but it's still not doing anything. And that is because we have to go to our thing here. So I'm gonna take the full group, in this case, the full Foxo. It's actually a clone. So technically, I should type here class, and in the value, it was called drop shadow. Did I not name it like that? I did. Let's try to use a revert. There we go. Yeah. Save, and if you click revert, it's kind of like a refresh rate of the file. But be careful with it. It can crash Inkscape, and also sometimes it can undo some of the things you did if you don't save. So be careful to save. It technically reverts to the last save, to the last save you made. So now we see that the shadow has been applied. Now, the cool thing about this is if I'm gonna go back here, right now this one has applied shadow too. Of course, I can actually remove the whole object, and our two filters are still active here, you see? And I can still edit them. So right now, if I have this flood set to red, let's make it to something more like, I don't know, blue. I'm not seeing it, but I know it's working. Now it's very important that I save here. Now we go back to the canvas and let's click revert. Bam, now it's blue. Now, if I want to change this to the shadow number 2, I'm gonna click like so. Let's do another revert. Bam, now it's black. Perfect. We are amazing. But you know me, I like to simplify things. We have to be lazy to be productive. We can't just do all of these steps like this. This is a lot of steps to just get to import one silly little filter. Of course, it's not only one silly little filter, and we are working with the style CSS. Now, arguably, this is a very powerful control tool to import your CSS file into Inkscape, because you can better work with the code in a CSS file. And XML doesn't have a search function in the XML editor, and I mean Inkscape doesn't have a search function in the XML editor. Plus, it's a bit finicky to kind of only work into that window like here, and just expanding and things like this. It's over the hand. So you can outsource most of your code and even the XML to some degree, but I don't know actually how to import XML yet. Obviously, you'd have to make an XML file, but I think it's okay to just leave everything in here, because I'm gonna exemplify. If I'm gonna look at the code, Inkscape generates this code, and most of the time it's formatted like this because it is generated. It's not handwritten, obviously. So they kind of overlap with things here. Whatever. But the point is that Inkscape introduces some, like for example, this these top headers with the sodipodi, and it has some dependencies, let's call them like that. And you don't need all of them, but if you want to use the full capabilities of Inkscape and do all sorts of crazy things with filters and extensions, you will require them. And Inkscape usually kind of introduces, well, Inkscape works quite clean, but sometimes it just adds some extra code in it, such as sort of like a signature with its dependencies. And all vector software do this. But if you really know how to control the code and understand the full hierarchy of the code and how it all connects, you can clean it up and make it in very few lines without needing to add all of this mirror sway and interpolate and things like this, because these are there for a reason, but only if you use them. So yeah, if you know how to format the XML code, it's a very powerful way to import it and then manipulate it externally. But we want to simplify things. So let's use some of our own tricks. First of all, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna remove this, oops, not this one, this one. I'm going to remove my class. And we are actually going to remove this style altogether with this import. So let's delete them. And let's delete it here as well. And we're going to create a new style, but through the selector CSS. Oh. So we're clicking here. And let's call this one importer. Doesn't matter if you put a dot in front or not. It's gonna create it automatically. So our importer, what can our importer do? Let's see. Our importer right now is generated over here on the top of the page. It's still called style ID style 1, but it is like this importer. Perfect. Now technically I could just import it in front of it as we did with the CSS file, but we're gonna skip the CSS file. And we're just going to look into our CSS file and see what our CSS is doing. Let me not make some stupid things here. So our CSS is calling this class, and then in this class, it's calling this filter with the path. So what happens if I just copy the filter from over here and put it into my importer? Bam! Perfect. We're gonna save. So we have it in our style. I could have also written it directly here, but you have to first import something into the style for it to be editable. See? But now everything has worked out of the box. Bam. And now I can edit it here. And for example, let me see. If I'm gonna say shadow 1, bam. Super easy. Now we don't have to do all those extra things of editing outside in the CSS and then going and using revert to update the information. But unfortunately, you still have to use the revert if you're going to make a change into the filter into your importer SVG. So for example, if I'm gonna go to shadow 2 and I'm going to use my composite transfer, and let's say we are going to go back to our gamma and linear over here, save, which is gonna do that orangish thing. Also, don't apply it directly on this in the importer, because then you're gonna have duplicates and it's a nightmare. So now, if we want to make sure that, let's see, our style is with shadow number 2, it should be shadow number 2. You see it's still reverting to black, but if I'm gonna put revert here, it's updating from the previous file. Awesome, awesome possum. Now let me show you another cool trick. Awesome possum. How do you type a possum? Possum, like this, possum. Whatever. Let's make it red. Let's change this. I don't know. Ah, okay, whatever. This one looks nice. And now let's apply it to our importer. Easy peasy. Of course, the shadow is very powerful, and we can also see that it kind of clips into this. So keep it light. You know, you can't control everything. And actually, I don't know how the heck do I expand this, I wonder. And as you can see, we literally have 0 filters in here. So in our canvas, we're just importing the filter via XML. We're not creating any filters inside canvas. It does have the downside of not being able to control for text, for example. So you'll have to create. In this case, let's create a new importer. Actually, let's do this. I'm gonna rename this into my XML. Let's call this importer shadow 1. I'm just gonna copy it and importer shadow 2. Here I'm gonna put shadow 1. We're gonna save. Coming back here, we already have it updated. Let's see. If I want to add the fox over here, I'm gonna put shadow 1. But now let's say for the possum, we're gonna put it in shadow 2. Now again, we have this problem, but if we're gonna go into our importer and we're going to modify for shadow 2 this offset, let's put it to 1 by 1 and the Gaussian blur to maybe a 2. Let's see what happens. Okay, we're gonna save, revert, bam, better. It's still quite strong, so let me just simplify things here. Let's put this to a 1. Let's, oh yeah, this one should be a 1 as well. I forgot the not linked. So let's go back, revert, perfecto. And now see, whatever I type in here, lol, it already has this shadow applied, so I don't need to do anything super crazy. And if I want, I can also import this text. I can make it in import, in the importer, and then create a clone of it over here. So my canvas can just be the hub where everything is imported, so I don't have to do anything specific in here. So there we go. It's not awesome possum. Let's call it awesome foxo. Awesome foxo. I like it. And let's also try to put something like so. I know, cheesy, but whatever. That looks freaking awesome. I like it. It's a bit blurry, but it works. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this because it was a wild ride. And it did take us quite a bit to go through all of the settings, but as I showed you, there are easy ways to do it, complex ways to do it, powerful ways to do it, and we also love the lazy ways to do it, because we are lazy and efficient. With filters, stay tuned on YouTube because that's one is going to drop sooner or later. And I've done a very comprehensive guide, well, not guide, experiment with the styles. Also, here's a crazy thing. You can actually save your filters, but since we don't have any filter in here, well, your filters are going to be saved into the file here, you know? So if you close this file, it's going to always be imported. But if you want to import your filter over here, then you will have to go into Inkscape. So you go where Inkscape is installed, go into Share, Inkscape again, and then you have to look for Filters. And you have Filters SVG here. Now if I'm gonna open this, now you're gonna get these things with was created in an older version, da 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 da. So this is made with 90 dpi, while the newer versions has 96 dpi. Keep that in mind, but usually this is gonna work. Click OK, and again OK for some reason. Now this is sort of like a template, and it's empty. But if we're gonna go into our filters, we're gonna see them all here. So all you have to do is just copy a file with an object with a filter from over there. Let me just do this. So I'm gonna create a sphere like so. I'm gonna apply shadow number 2 on it, or let's go shadow number 1. I'm going to copy it, so it's copying the whole object with the filter, and then you go into filters, you paste the object, and now we can see that our filter here has also been pasted. So now I can just safely remove the object and the filter is saved. And if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna save this filter, you're gonna see a new thing here called something with B, I can't remember right now. And your filter is going to be saved, your custom filter is going to be saved there. And it's always going to be open in all the Inkscapes forever and ever. Or you could technically, I think, save it as a template and do it that way. Like, not in here actually. I'm not gonna save this because I don't want to overwrite my filters. Especially since they were written in different eras, I don't want to mess it up too much. So technically, for this, I would just clean everything out. Well, not out of here because this is the importer. I would create a new file, an empty file, and then I would just save it as a template, name it, and then if I need to open it, I'm just gonna go new from template, and in the custom, you select the template that you want with the filters and blah blah blah. So it should work that way as well, I think. Anyway, you guys are awesome. Awesome possum. Or awesome foxo. I'll catch you in the next episode. See ya. Bye 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 bye.